Those are the
muscular.
first seven. So that's the first group. Like we've kind of,
Oh yeah, you're dividing it into septets.
yeah.
We've reached chapter 7, the chariot.
Yeah, so the first one's developing yourself, and then
Okay.
the second part is figuring out, like the rest of the world sort of thing. I
Damn it, I
think
didn't even realize you have to do that. Now we're in chapter 2. So we it's who am I and what should I do? We've figured out who I am. Now we're what should I do? Maybe
what do I want from this world? How do I connect? Be like,
maybe who are we?
we figured out who we are, and now we're going to figure out what to do with that information, sort of
What to do
thing.
with it?
We figured
Implement.
ourselves out, so how do we fit with everything else in this world?
In our deal we have like the think, feel, do idea.
Yeah.
Like you have your self concept and then maybe this is values and feelings and what do I want to be? What do I want to and maybe we're not
No.
quite doing yet. We're not out in the battlefield, but we're like, okay, planning
Well,
my
and I
journey.
kind of wonder if the do and the feel are switched around. We've got the think and we've got that developed, and then we're gonna go into the do, and then we're gonna go into the feel. So that might be putting the cart before the horse, but
This is always a thing, and it might be a type thing too.
mhm.
I think in my case, is think, feel, do. I've some people are coming back saying it's the exact opposite. It's do, feel, think, and maybe each person kind of does it in a different order.
Oh, I could see that, like what if it's not a set order like at all? What
Yeah.
if
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like you have your instinct, like you get robbed. You're not really thinking when someone's putting a gun in your face. You're like
Right.
either fight,
Not
flight,
thinking.
or freeze. None of those
Freeze.
are think. I kept saying
Yeah.
flee when I meant to say freeze, and I was wondering why it didn't sound right. So that's like your do, that's your instinct, your reaction, and then scare is over, then your brain starts feeling all the things that it suppressed to protect you. Like afterwards, you think, what are some things I can do to prevent that from happening again or something? So,
When your autonomic nervous system is challenged, you generally will regress to like
mm,
maybe a more instinctual place. And so in that situation, like we don't want to do by instinct. We
mm.
do by instinct, and we're trying to do that less. In the idea of think, feel, do, the do part isn't reaction. It's the things you do on purpose.
The order can kind of be shuffled around just
It can, yeah.
depending on the
And it depends
experience.
on what you're talking about a lot too. The original hypothetical is like I have to understand what the thing is, and then
Mm,
once I understand it, I kind of start to get who I am in the situation, what I care about, what I value.
right.
And then once I get all that, I can then actually enter the situation and interact with that clarity. It's not necessarily how it always happens, but it's sort of
Right.
how it ought to happen, probably. Who
Well,
knows? This is all us pushing into new turf here.
yeah, I feel like that's also like a very reaction, like a healthy reaction rate.
Right, right.
Like I think about this, how do I need to approach a situation? Like how do I get from A to B? The feeling is like how is what's my willingness to do this stuff? And then after you've done all that thinking, then you're like, I've got this plan. I'm prepared for how it's gonna make me feel. Now I'm gonna do it. So I think that's a helpful reaction combination right there.
A mega stage 2 of the major arcana. We're out of the self concept and we're pushing into the
You're in high school and you're going to college, like I want to be this thing, so I've got to take the correct courses to get me there, sort of thing. Or if someone says, I want to be I want to be a singer, so instead of going to college, maybe I'm just going to get a job to pay the bills,
and
and
is there a card that represents that like holy grail or the MacGuffin or the desire, what Andrew calls the grape? Pick up the
that would be
grape
the
off the
lovers,
ground.
right?
The lovers. So that
Yeah,
whatever that
that's like
other is, that's the desire that you're
yeah.
gonna
So it
get on the
doesn't
chariot.
necessarily have to be
Okay.
another person, but
Okay.
like it's the deep desire, the something that you want, a connection.
Actualization, self-worth, fitting in,
Yeah.
all that.
And
Yeah.
then the
Okay.
chariot is now that I have this desire, I've got the drive to achieve it. I'm going to go off and do this thing.
Dun,
Um,
dun, 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 dee,
and now
dee,
it's
dee,
like, yeah,
dee,
I'm
dee,
going
dee,
off to
dee.
college, essentially. So when you're in, outside of the family dynamic and you're starting to think for yourself and you're like, present your own personality, you've got some obstacles to face because now that you're your own person, you're responsible for everything. It's not somebody else taking care of it anymore. So
So we got
that brings us
smobstacles.
Yes,
Like
schmuck.
s'mores, but smobstacles. What sorts of obstacles?
Well, first we're gonna learn about,
The
you know,
insidious
our little
Snidely
cool
Whiplash.
guy. He's coming along. This guy,
Oh,
strength.
aw.
Um, so
He's
it
just
doesn't.
ripping that lion's face open by the jaw.
And we've also got our little infinity thing. So, she worked hard to get that too. So we've got, a divine presence here. Strength isn't always about like how strong you are, like, or getting stronger. It's about understanding the strength that you're going to need for a particular thing. She's trying to be super gentle, as she's opening his mouth.
Oh.
I always think it's pill time. And Mr. Lion doesn't want a pill. And she's like, oh, I need you to get your pill. Or it
And then
looks
she's
like
gonna
it's kind
vomit
of
it
like,
out into the. She's gonna regurgitate it into the lion's mouth like a
or
mad bird.
or it really loves her and is trying to give her some kitty licks. Like
Hmm.
we don't know their relationship, but she seems pretty chill. She doesn't seem too
Is her
thought
dome
about.
flaming or is those flowers? Is she
They're
growing
flowers.
sprouts?
They're just flowers.
She
They look,
microgreening out of her scalp there?
yeah, they're just
A little
like
chia pet?
microgreening. She's like blonde and she's got some flowers
Oh,
and
she's
shit.
growing some ganja up there.
Just, doing a thing. I guess that's like a reef or something, like, a reaper, a reef
That's
or
pretty
something.
progressive. So Strumpf is a female?
Yeah, well, it's
All
about
right.
learning,
Way to go.
like not so much strength, but how much strength to use. Like what do I need to approach this with? Do I need to approach it with, a gentle touch? Do I need to have just enough strength to pry these, jaws open or like,
The exact right amount of thrust to chop.
yeah, or yeah, how sturdy does my handshake need to be, sort of thing.
Uh-huh. So it's like the strength could be a little tiny amount. It could be a very sensitive, articulate, like a
Yeah.
surgeon's strength.
Like, I'll give you a story. After the car wreck, my hand was broken. I had a lot of nerve damage. I don't know if you could see the scar,
It was a
but
real minor
um,
accident.
at the time, this was super red. So it was very easy to tell that this hand had been recently injured. And I start my job, and my boss is giving me like a little tour through the building, and he's introducing me to people. And there's this big bodybuilder dude. We called him the fridge. He lifted, he didn't skip leg day, like you knew. And I go to shake this man's hand, and he practically crushes my hand. There was no doubt in my mind that the man was strong. He did not need to apply that much force to my handshake. Had he like looked at his surroundings and saw, oh, this hand has been horribly injured, I probably shouldn't squeeze it so hard when I go to shake it. That would be a good example of the strength card. It's not so much being really strong, but knowing that you're strong and you have to take precautions for it. So I wasn't entirely sure. Um, I feel like this one kind of jumps the gun a little bit, learning your own strengths and weaknesses and how to apply them in a communal setting, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
I'm feeling a little frustrated with this card. Is there not a card that just represents like strength as strength, just like ultimate power, like maybe
Uh,
the Emperor or something?
so it just depends on what kind of strength you're referring to. Do you mean like a juggernaut, like a
I
force?
guess physical, yeah, just like those guys who like pick up giant orbs and throw them over concrete dividers, like, or
Oh,
that like pull buses behind them.
I don't think there's any in the major
Nothing
arcana
like
that's going to
that.
apply
Okay.
to that. Maybe like the Five of Wands.
So strength
Um,
is just kind of kinetic and potential energy.
like learning, balance is also a way for the
Right.
thing to come in. I didn't think that that would be blue because again, it's more like a self-thought sort of thing. Part of me felt like it might have been more green. I have, all these things I need to be able to, like fix something that's wrong with society. I need to, like, now my house is in order. I've got my strength. I know what's going on for me. I'm able to look around and realize, hey, this is messy. And now that I've got myself taken care of, like I can see this the world around me is kind of, like suffering and needing something. So it kind of this is where I kind of fell apart with my theory, my thought process of how these two things can relate.
It seems like a lot of the what we're describing as the strength card has to do with balance, restraint, coordination, a lot of things that aren't just pure strength, but like a counter strength and a pushing, flexing with that.
Exactly. Like how much strength do I apply? You hold the hammer closer to the top, you have a lot more accuracy, but a lot less. oomph, a lot less strength, versus if you hold the hammer closer to the base, your swing is going to have more power behind it, but it's not
Now
easier.
this is Orange talking mechanical advantage.
Yeah, so I guess
Yeah.
maybe this would be orange then, because that's what strength is learning is like the balance. Where do I put my hand on the hammer? For this job, these nails are not super heavy, but like I have to be able to get them in this exact spot. So maybe I'm using the top, or maybe if it's like actually I'm not hitting a nail, I'm hitting this big old broad thing, and no matter where I hit, it's going to get me where I need, but I need it to be strong.
I think yeah, I don't mind keeping this lower too. Like this could be like red, amber, where you're figuring out like where your strength fits in your own personal like your ability and how to apply that. You have the concept of other, you have the social concept, you have a role, and you're just like, where do I fit? How much do I have to apply? How much do I have to force strength, strong arm my way into this? So I could kind of see that as being red, amber kind of action. Not sure, just
Well,
also green,
earlier we were
orange.
thinking that the like the higher front it was like the clear end to the magenta phase. So, I maybe they start to kind of blend in as you're going through it, maybe.
For all we know, strength can go the whole way up, a whole way. We're just playing around. Yeah, well,
Well, a couple times strength is used incorrectly, and accidents happen, and you realize that hey, maybe I don't know as much as I thought I did. So that's when you get to Mr. Hermit. Oh,
hmm.
Hermit the Frog here. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
so just just look at my lantern here, Miss Piggy. It's keeping everything illuminated pretty well. You just get out there and start hitting the pavement. Everybody's just like, well, gosh, man. It's like, what do you think? What do you think? I just,
So,
I
um,
mean, gosh.
so Mr. Hermit is like, I thought I understood things. I thought I knew exactly what to apply. I quickly found out that I don't know the world as well as I thought I did when I left my small community. So I need to like figure out what these answers are. I need to, internalize. I need to like go back and just, completely just reevaluate myself and my thinking sort of thing.
Yeah,
Gadding.
Hermit is 9, and I'm immediately going to orange, but we'll hold that thought.
Well, isn't orange more of a collective thing? Well, no, no, no,
Um,
you're right, you're right.
I see that like isolating yourself off and just going like, what the hell is real? What do I think? What I'm now I have enough data and I know I'm confused. And I know everyone's confused. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's like, it just jumps straight from blue, or was that what we said strength was? Like,
I was putting it in there, yeah, like kind of how to apply your red to the social dynamic.
yeah. Let's see, with strength
And
we
the
did.
lantern of truth,
Yeah.
real light truth. Yeah.
Well, didn't we say that the strength was more like an orange?
We were all over the place with strength.
Yeah.
We're a little we were saying orange, green, red, amber. We're just play we're
Yeah.
that one's a little
I would definitely give Hermit orange. That makes sense
we
because
like that.
I need to, develop myself. I need to figure out how to, protect myself, and how do I succeed in this world? How do I become profitable sort of thing? Which brings us to the Wheel of Fortune, which is basically,
Ah,
like knowing that you know nothing sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Like, hey, I can internalize all these things and I can strategize and I can plan, but really, I just kind of have to like hold the reins and go with it because
Now, what in the world are all these Chinese characters I'm seeing here?
oh,
What is that all
I
about?
think they're more uh
Runes?
ruins, maybe
Oh, those look Hebrew. Those
Hemetic.
look Hebrew on the
Yeah, I
outside.
was gonna say Hemetic. Isn't that how you say that?
Yeah.
Hermetic, maybe?
Hermetic,
Hermetic.
hermaceutical.
Yeah. I think that's what these it's the Order of the Golden Dawn or whatever.
Oh, really? Oh, hermeticism. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's who
Okay.
constructed the Rider Waite deck anyways. There's a bunch of other ones. I
Those
have
guys
one.
tried to have non-consensual intercourse with me, and I no longer associate with them.
Yeah, that was a bad idea.
That's just personal. That's just
It was like
personal.
one night in Cabo,
I'm
and
not trying to say.
you
I'm not
even
trying to
you even
hurl
promised
shade.
me that they would never show their face again. So
Hmm.
I don't know, but anyways,
The Wheel of Fortune represents the
kind of
glorious,
learning that
successful outcome.
Yeah, like, or knowing that you know nothing, knowing that you can control certain parts of the
Mm,
world, but
okay.
other things are just going to happen out of your control, and you have to learn how to accept that and incorporate it.
Is
Um,
this the same as the wheel-ass wheel from Buddhism? Just like the cycle of the whole industry of life
well,
and
it's kind of like the Wheel of Fortune. So that's
Mhm. Like the
what it's
show?
called. So
Yeah.
like, sometimes you're going to have positive outcomes, sometimes you're going to have negative, sometimes, or God, I even said I wasn't going to do that. Like the world, not the cards.
Hmm.
Sometimes you're going to have good outcomes, sometimes you're going to have bad outcomes. Sometimes these things are not in your control. Sometimes they are in your control, but maybe you didn't grasp the, correct, assumptions and it didn't work out and you're going to feel guilty. But at the end of the day, you just have to do the best you can. And like some things you can control, sometimes you can't, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, but you just have to keep pushing forward. You just have to keep turning. So it's basically like
Is it
saying,
luck?
hey, you can be a hermit, you can think all the things all you want, but some of this is completely outside your control, so thinking isn't going to help you with it. Like you can think about your favorite picnic and you can make all these great plans, but like if there's a tornado that just comes out of the blue out of nowhere with no plans or no warnings, like you're not going to get your picnic.
So this sounds like it's running into circumstance over fate, which is very orange too. Just like, well, it's just the way it is. It's not somebody punishing you or
Yeah,
rewarding you either.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, I think we've got some pretty good arguments for like magenta or like
We're
red
chilling.
rolling into orange or amber or whatever it is. I'm sorry if I don't know the colors. I tried to get like a conversion thing, but I fell down a rabbit hole of all sorts of fun stuff.
Blame Wilbur.net. He changed the color names. I don't know what to do.
I know, when you go through that wheel and you're like, well, if there's no real control over thing, then where's the justice in this world?
Ah, I knew it would come that. Now, okay, which color do you think justice is? Let's rock.
Well, I think I think this is where we get into the blue. I think we get into a little bit
Uh-huh.
of community society role sort of thing. Like, hey, I can't control how everybody feels, but if we can come together as community and figure out how to hold each other accountable for stuff, your religion comes into play. Like, oh, well, if you do these bad things, you're gonna be, if you sin, you're gonna be punished. Like there's this, or like society laws, aside from religion, like everybody can agree stealing is wrong. Let's put like a law against stealing. And so like I feel like justice is us trying to make
Yeah.
order out of the chaos surrounding us sort of thing. And
The heavy concern with justice seems to be like amber, orange, green, maybe, in terms of, but the idea of what is just changes, but the focus on everybody being fair and just and cool and decent and everything. It's like amber, then orange, then green.
so we
Those are
go from magenta to amber, right?
magenta red, then
Okay,
amber, yeah.
so red
So
is still
amber is blue. Amber is blue.
okay, so amber's blue. So that's where I feel like we are. Then just like
Yeah. And then we did Hermit and we were saying orangish and
yeah,
then Justice here. Justice, I mean, definitely Justice is big in Amber. It's
right.
the justice of the doctrine. Orange meme justice is based on fairness and legalism and
Well, maybe that's where the two things
contractual
start to come
fairness.
together. Maybe that's
Yeah.
where, so maybe I'm actually thinking this was orange. So maybe we got quite a few oranges in here.
Well, Orange institutes an actual justice that people agree is just, and so I think there is a lot of justice to the Orange, the universal human rights and
Well, that would be,
contractual.
that's kind of getting into the green though, isn't it?
Green pushes it to actual absolutes. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
so
like
maybe
an
this
idea
is
that's
our,
introduced in Orange with a lot of shadow. Yeah.
so I think, yeah, I think this is our introduction from, like orange to the green. And
Yeah.
then this one I really feel like is green.
Hmm.
Um, and this is our hanged man.
Hmm. Yeah.
Our sacrificial lamb. This is our, like martyr. This is our like I need to give of myself because my society needs me sort of thing. And why aren't you giving yourself? Why aren't you hanging upside down, like in the village there? Like
And they're wearing a tunic and tights and they're hanging upside down. That looks pretty green meme to me.
this is yeah, pretty yoga. He's
Yeah.
trying to stand up without your hands. I guess.
This at a superficial level, people have called this one kind of like procrastination, Netflix and chill. This is kind of like you're not really sure what to do.
No, this is your martyr. This is your I'm sacrificing
Martyr, victim.
myself for the
Okay.
greater good. I'm
Okay.
hating of myself. This is like your typical green, why aren't you saving people guy.
SJW.
Like, don't care about yourself, care about the Commonwealth. Like you're making all these rules to benefit yourself, but you need to think about the public. I give everything I can. I'm people's needs are better than mine. I'm sacrificing myself for my community, sort of thing. So
It's like
that
that quote from Waking Life. We're all thought and no action. This guy's all action and no thought. He's sitting up on a telephone pole, like shouting on a megaphone or something.
is your typical green guy.
I
You're
love it. Martyr.
like, yeah,
Victim.
like raise my taxes because our land needs road. Like it's not all bad. That's my thing. Like, please take my money, make my roads good, make my school systems great, make my healthcare affordable. Like this is your like little martyr guy. Sometimes he does too much though. Sometimes he pushes himself too far.
Ooh,
Um, we kind of
burning the
talked.
candle at both ends.
Yeah, exactly. This is kind of what happens when you go straight from that amber or blue meme directly into the green without any stasis in the orange.
Yep.
So
There's no skipping stages. Yeah.
yeah,
No
so this,
necessary competence.
as we're going through the last stages, some things might circle back. We might get some callbacks from some previous.
And as
Uh,
you had pointed out, when this system was developed, green was fairly nascent.
yeah, it
It
was,
may have it may have been like a turquoise would be today.
but we remember that some people use this stuff for the future. So
Uh-huh.
um, there's some chances, like this stuff was created long before the actual construction, of the pneumatic code. Some of this might still get into the other memes. As we go through our stages, we don't lose the stage. We keep it. Like it's always inside of us. And it kind of shapes how we do things.
You got to bring it all back at the denouement.
Yeah,
I see my face in your computer.
you are in my computer right now.
It's like I'm looking in a mirror.
Yeah, kind
I
of.
try to look at you and I just see my face in each of
Yeah,
your eye holes.
little bit longer hair, but essentially everything else is pretty much identical.
It's pretty artsy.
Like if you got a tattoo and you were a little bit paler, you would be me. So,
If I was the Medusa, you could come and slay me.
ooh, I don't know if I'd slay
Or
her.
you'd have to keep your balls closed.
I feel like she would, I feel like I'd get her enough to want to leave her alone.
She's not a light emitter, I don't think either, so that wouldn't really work.
Well, what happens after you've martyred yourself or you've hanged yourself? We're gonna get to the death card. The death card doesn't always mean death. It means like an end of an era, a transition, sort of thing. So, um, I think this one kind of coincides with the first grouping completion. So now we get into the next phase of human development. We're gonna transition over here with you guys.
It essentially means that you or someone you know will physically perish within a day.
Yes, unless you share a video before the next week. So share this
Yeah.
video. You have 7 days,
And subscribe.
according to this.
Share it on Facebook. Yeah. It's like
Um,
if you encounter a black dog in the wild, somebody's toast.
yeah,
Somebody somewhere in the world will die within 1 second.
there's really no avoiding it.
So
Um,
don't get your ass out there and find that fucking dog.
it's like the death of the caterpillar is the life of the butterfly. We transition
Mm.
change.
Hooked
So
on Phoenix process.
yeah, a little bit of a phoenix process.
So we're describing these kind of three overlying phases to the
Yeah,
major arcana of the tarot. And death seems to be stage the 13 in the Fool's Errand, where he is now at 13 and encountering the expression of death, the
yeah.
archetype
So
of death.
we're getting closer to the close of understanding that there's a big world out there, sort of thing. We're getting closer to the end of that. So this transitioning phase, this going back and like taking a step back and actually evolving past the here and now, living in the moment as much as it is, hey, now I'm going back and I'm accessing all this stuff. Like, what did I go through with my like my parents, my priestess, and my like the emperor and the empress? What did I go through with the Hierophant? What did I go through with my desires? How did all that play a part in where I am now? It's kind of like evaluating yourself. So I was going to give this what I would have previously said yellow, but teal. I was actually going to give this one a
Hmm.
teal because it starts to become more self-aware and
We often describe this as like a monumental leap or like from tier one of the levels to tier two of the levels or spiral dynamics. And it is experienced as a death. And we start saying these funny things in second tier about how like stop being a person, stop being a story. And it's like, what do you even mean? This is like a concept that only really makes sense at about this death level, this 13 in the fool's journey, where you're like, actually, okay, if that character, that atom, that birth certificate were to stop existing, this consciousness would still be here. And it could kind of be like anything at once.
the next couple of cards are gonna be pretty much the teal and then is the next one turquoise still or
Turquoise in both, actually, most often. Yeah.
it's interesting because teal and turquoise are not that very different in color, but
No.
whatever works, right? I think maybe turquoise is just slightly more blue than
Yeah,
teal.
yeah. I have
Um,
trouble. I have to find. I have to like hex code all these colors, and I have to guess like what I think they are. Yeah,
oh yeah,
doesn't tell
well,
how dark they are. Yeah,
straight up FF00FF, right? So like
I was getting purple out of that.
I'm sorry, I just coughed right into a cat's
Now
face.
you just have the little color picker thing, so you don't have to actually know any of the damn codes.
Oh, but the codes are fun.
Yeah, they're fun. They're
Facebook
fun.
thing. That's all I did was learn hex codes.
Everyone who is on MySpace, like decking out their sites, like they have that natural urge. Yeah,
Yeah, and then I was discouraged when MySpace ended and everything was Facebook and you had zero control over anything. So I was like, fine.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, we're in teal. We're starting to realize, hey, there's some things that we need to reassess. There's some growth that needs to happen.
The
Which
Black Knight doesn't always triumph. Sometimes it's got bloody stumps for all of its appendages.
I will bear
Toast.
some news. I will.
He's totally toast. None shall pass.
So this person kind of looks like the strength person, but this is actually temperance. It's still a balance thing. Shooting straight forward and then realizing, hey, I did too much. I need to pull back. Temperance is the same thing, trying to balance your chakras or balance your, like memes. Like what was my positive? What kind of healing do I need to go back and do? I was still feeling pretty much on the teal spectrum still.
She's
Um,
doing the like two glass like martini mix.
yeah, essentially, she's like,
The
screw,
two
screw.
cups blend, the emotional overlap.
I closed my
In this schema, nothing is more pertinent to teal than like cool your jets, temperance, yeah, pull back. Once you find these levels, you get really excited if you do find it compelling and you do find it like, oh wow, wow. And then you start getting all weird about it because you're like, okay, I feel kind of shafted. But that's just like a little phase you go through. It's like when you figure out how social justice and how crazy and mean the world is, you get all bent out about it. That you see all the levels and you feel that like, oh my God, this is how everything is. And it's like, okay, so now I understand. Like my boss, when he yells at me, that's simply an expression of red meme. And it's like, I don't know, that kind of changes the nature of what's happening. And in ways that make you kind of feel conned, I guess.
Okay,
Like this whole thing,
I think
oh,
that's
you're just patterns. You're not even real. You're just patterns. Oh my God.